Hello everybody, my name is Dee and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today I wanted to do a review of a couple of books that I finished this past week, and both of them I really enjoyed, so I really feel like I'm on a roll with books that I'm really enjoying lately. But I do want to talk about them because the first one that I'm going to mention is a book that I really haven't seen many people talk about, but you've heard me talk about a little bit in Friday Reads, and that is Sycamore by Bryn Chancellor. Sycamore is a town in Arizona. It's a very small desert town, and it follows a young girl. Well, let me start with the premise of this book is that a young girl named Jess was about 17 years old. In 1991, went for a walk and disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to her. There were no traces left behind. And 18 years passes, and another woman that has just moved to the town goes for a hike in the desert kind of trails around and comes upon a little brush area where she sees bones that look human. And so the whole book is this mystery of what happens to this girl 18 years prior. What happens in 1991? You know, what happened the night that she disappeared, basically. Now, this book, although I said it is a mystery, and that's basically the premise around which the story revolves, but this is so much more than just that mystery alone. The timeline jumps back and forth a little bit, but it's not confusing in any way. It does go back in time to 1991, and we follow Jess in the months prior to her disappearance. And we get to see this young woman, the struggles that she goes through, the struggles that her mother goes through. Her mother and her had just moved to the town. In Sycamore, they're kind of looking for a fresh start after her father left and started a new family. So there's a lot of suffering going on in that family, but we get to see what her life is like in the months prior. There's a lot of trials and tribulations, and it very much is a coming of age story as well in following Jess in this story. We also get to see other points of view. We get to see her mother's point of view. Her name is Maud. And we get to see, her struggles, her struggles not only in 1991, but also in the present. We also get the point of view of other people that live in the town. And, everything sort of ties together in how it relates to Jess and how it relates to the disappearance. There's a lot of little plots within this story as well, subplots. And I found this book just to have so much heart. Now, this is a debut novel, so Bryn Chancellor doesn't have any other novels out. This is her first, and I thought she did a phenomenal job. I gave this book 4 stars. The only problem I had with it is that it took me a while to get into the book. It took me about 50 pages before I felt like I was enjoying myself and invested in the characters. Of course, in the beginning of the book, we do know that the girl disappeared. We do know that the bones are found, and that's kind of exciting in a weird way, but because the story is propelled forward. But also I think that there were some little slow parts in the beginning. But by the time I was, 50 pages in or so, I was really loving it. I loved all the characters, all of the different people within the town. We get to know so many stories. We get to know so many people intimately in this town, I felt. And of course, the mystery does unravel, and we know what happens by the end. And I won't spoil anything, so don't worry. But, if this seems like something that you would enjoy, I would definitely give it a go and pick it up. Mystery, and it's also very character driven with all of these different characters. So, yeah, I definitely recommend this book, and I did write a little bit of a review as well on Goodreads. So yes, definitely enjoyed this book and do recommend it to anybody that loves a good mystery or a good um, ensemble kind of cast. The second book that I want to talk about that I finished recently is Shift, which is the second book in the Silo series, the Silo trilogy. It's the second volume. And, I can speak a little bit about this book without spoiling anything. So no spoilers, don't worry, but I can say a couple of things about this book without spoiling anything for you. So I spoke last week about Wool. Wool is it's an adult dystopian about a world where something horrific happened and the air outside is unbreathable and there are no living things outside and everyone lives in these underground silos, these very intricate, huge underground silos that are like 100 stories deep and they're, fully sustainable. It's amazing what these silos are, and I think the author does a really good job of describing so that I can almost see it in my mind. Now, Shift is the second volume, and in the first volume, we're introduced to one of the silos, and one of the main characters, her name is Julia, discovers she has some questions. She questions a lot of things about the outside world, about what goes on, and there's a lot of secrets that the, I guess, higher ups or the people in control keep from those living in the silos. And with Shift, we get a lot of the answers. That's what I could say about this book, is that this book, well, I can say two things. First, that we do get a lot of the answers. A lot of the questions that I had reading the first book, a lot of the questions that it left me with get answered in this book. There are still a few more questions, and I'm sure that gets answered in the third book, but this book does a really good job of answering a lot of the questions. And the reason it answers a lot of questions is because it goes back in time. So this book actually starts off in the near future, where when these silos are first being built, and we get to see what happened to the world, what happened that, everyone had to live in these underground silos. Why is the world decimated? What is actually out there? Because the windows in these silos, you really can only see up to a certain distance, and it just looks, kind of barren and dead. But this book really goes back in time. So and it goes full circle also. By the end of the second book, it sort of brings you to where we were left off in the first book. So that is really all I can tell you, but I did want to explain that because it is a little bit different. But I just found this book to be, it's a little bit slower than the first book because we're kind of seeing, how it all began. But it is just as intriguing as the first book, and and just seeing how everything started and how everything works and bringing it back full circle. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait to get to the third one, which is Dust. So highly recommend this series. If you haven't tried out Wool, which is the first book, I would really give it a go to see if it's to your liking. Wool just does take a little bit of time to get into as well, but it's just so good once you do get into it. And I hope that if you like dystopian, that you give it a go and see what you think. So that is all I'll be reviewing for today. I do have some other reviews coming up that I want to do, my final thoughts on books that I am finishing up. But those are the only two that I'm going to be talking about today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you've read these books and what you think of it. I would love to talk to you. And yeah, I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.